Okay, so recently I did a video that was creating this preset that you see here, which is a wet, dry, wet preset based on kind of that 90s Van Halen tone with the 5150 amps. And I picked up the 5150 capture pack from Amalgam, and I wanted to kind of retrofit this preset and replace the amp models and cabinets with the captures that I purchased from Amalgam and to see how that turned out. So just to refresh on kind of what we have here for this preset, like I said, we're running a wet, dry, wet configuration. So what that means is we have a few pedals up front. I've got a mid-boost EQ here. I've got a phaser. I've got a flanger, and then we're splitting. And then the dry path is a 5150 amp. For the most part, I'm using the blue, although I do have an option to use a red. And then I'm running that into a 4x12 EV cabinet, and that's going out. So that's our dry path, no effects. And then the wet path is splitting off, going down to row 3. I'm splitting here. I'm running another set of blues here into the same cabinets. We're doing a pitch shift. We're doing a 9-cent pitch shift. Different directions for the different left and right. We have a delay here. Set slightly different, 500 and 380 on the different left and right. And then we've got a little bit of reverb, and then we're going out. And like I said, one's being panned all the way to the left, and one's being panned all the way to the right, and we're going out. And so the guitar I'm using today is my Paul Reed Smith Paul's Guitar SE. And let's hear what the preset sounds so we can compare it when we go to the preset with the captures. So here's kind of the bass sound with the 5150 blue. And if we hit it with the mid boost. And we can even do phaser on that. So that's our preset with the amp models. So let's switch over to the preset that is using the captures. I have that here. We'll switch it to scene mode. So the one nice thing with the captures is, and if you didn't see the video I did doing an overview of the capture pack, I'll link to it here. But the main thing is we have more gain levels available to us in the capture pack. The models on the Quad Cortex, whether using the blue or the red, are high gain from the get-go. You don't really have a edge of breakup or just kind of crunch. There's no channel 1 from the 5153. It's more channel 2 and channel 3. The captures have the lower gain stuff as well. So we've been able to incorporate that into this. So the way the scenes are set up is across the bottom, I have the different levels of capture gains. So there's edge of breakup, crunch, a rhythm, which is channel 2, and a lead, which is channel 3. And above that, I have scenes that are taking those and adding a little bit to them. So I have one that's taking the edge and I'm boosting it with the mid boost. I've got the crunch and I'm adding a flanger to it. I've got the rhythm, which is channel 2, and I'm boosting that with a mid boost. And then I have a boosted lead that's using the mid boost and the phaser. So if we go and look how I laid out the captures into the wet, dry, wet setup, you can see it's very similar to what we had in the other preset. We've got the upfront pedals, so the mid boost, EQ, the phaser, the flanger. Then I'm breaking off to send to the wet path. And the dry path, we have 4 options of captures. There's an edge of breakup, there's a crunch, there's a channel 2 gain, and there's a channel 3 gain. And then we're running those through a low high cut. Again, these captures that incorporate the speaker cabinets into the capture, I find you need to roll off a little bit of your low end. And I'm also rolling off some of the high end just to smooth out the treble a little bit. So if we, for instance, if we take away our split and we just listen to what that sounds like, here's the dry paths. So here's the edge of breakup. I'm on the neck pickup. I go to the bridge pickup. And then if we go to the crunch, it's just adding a little more warmth to it. And then rhythm, when we go to channel 2, this is when we get into that 5150 gain that we're looking for. And then the lead, which is channel 3, is even more gain. So those are our dry paths. So if we add the splitter back in, you can see on the wet paths, I could only fit 2 captures onto the wet paths before I started running out of CPU. So I'm either using the edge of breakup captures, you can see I have 2 of them here, or I'm using the channel 2 gain captures. And so what I'm doing is, for these different scenes, when I go to crunch, I'm combining the crunch capture on the dry with the edge capture on the wet. And then for the lead, where I'm using the channel 3, I'm combining the channel 3 capture on the dry with the channel 2 captures on the wet. So it's not fully replicating the level of gain from the dry path into the wet path, but I actually like mixing different gain levels on the wet and dry paths. I think it gives you a fuller tone, and I think it gives you more flexibility on what you're trying to do. So let's go ahead and hear the different bass scenes with the wet included. So here's the edge of breakup. So a nice, just kind of almost clean tone. It's great for that kind of, 316 kind of thing. So that works well. If you go to the crunch, again, I'm combining the crunch here with the edge on the wets. But I think it gives it a lot of clarity and a lot of just a good fullness for doing lower gain rhythm stuff. And then if we go to the rhythm tone, which is channel 2, we're doing channel 2 on both the dry and the wet paths. And then for the lead, we've got channel 3 on the dry, and then the wet path is still channel 2. And then we can boost that and put the phaser on it and do fun stuff. So overall, I think the captures slid into the preset pretty well and they sound good. I will say a couple of things here. One, I did bring down some of the effect levels. So for example, if we look at the pitch shifter, you can see I've dropped the fine from 9 to 8. Not a big drop, but again, I found that the captures have a little more high-end bite to them and overall are a little clearer, but that was pushing the effects so they were a little more in your face, and I wanted to back them off a little bit. And so I lowered the amount of pitch shifting. And then also, if you were to compare the 2 presets, the levels for the true wet paths have been pulled back 1 decibel. So I think on the other preset, it's -4. I've got these on -5. So again, I just found that when I added the captures, it was pushing the effects a little further forward. I'm not sure why that is. It's just, I think it has to do with just the sonic characteristics of the captures. I think they have a little more top-end clarity to them, and I think that was getting picked up by the effects and making the effects seem like they were more present, and I wanted them to back up a little bit. But let's do a direct comparison. So we can't really compare the edge of crunch settings with the other preset because the models on the Quad Cortex don't do that. But let's go to the rhythm and let's compare this directly with the sound from the Quad Cortex model. So here's the captures. And let's try the red. And let's go back to the models. So again, I do think that the captures have like more clarity to them, and they sound kind of like they have less gain, even though if you look at the settings that come from Amalgam, the amp was set to a higher gain setting than I have the model set to. But I think that's just the clarity you get from the captures. I think they give you kind of more of that definition, and it makes it sound like it's less gainy because you're getting more definition, even though there's as much gain there. The preset with the models is available on my Cortex Cloud account. This preset here, it wouldn't work for you unless you've purchased this 5150 capture pack from Amalgam. If you have purchased that and you want me to share this preset, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know in the comments below. But just to reiterate what I'd said in the 5150 capture kind of review video I did, these captures are really well done, as always, with Amalgam. I do wish they had used different cabinets for the captures, and I always wish that they would do these captures just DI and not include the cabinets in them and give us more flexibility, but I'm done ranting about that too much. I'm just going to say it here and there. So I hope you enjoyed this, and as always, thanks for watching.